Hi guys, Jay Smith here, welcome to the AskGolfNut channel and welcome to a one versus another. We have the Mizuno Pro 243 up against JPX925 Forge, one of their newer versions. So the 243 is due to be replaced fairly soon, but we have the JPX925 Forge in the range, and this is a wondrous little golf club. Of all of the irons which Mizuno make, and let's count them, we have the JPX925 Hot Metal, the Hot Metal Pro, the Hot Metal High Launch, the Forged, Mizuno Pro 245, Mizuno Pro 243, the new S1, and now the new S3. That's 8, a few. Out of all of their range, 3 of them really pops out as golf clubs that can be used by many, many golfers, more golfers than they're actually given credit for. And it has to be the JPX925 Hot Metal Pro, the JPX925 Forge, and also the Pro 243. If you've seen the heat maps for these golf clubs, these two are one of the most forgiving irons around. So more golfers who hit more parts of the face than they really should do should really think about these two irons. We are at a hole that you can see we are pushing the boundaries of things. We are in YouTube land, so we are going to go for this one because it's daft. We have about 180 or so yards to go, and we are looking at the smallest mouth of green and the pin right in the front of it. So the actual shot here would be back of the green, fat part of the green. Nope, this is YouTube. We're going to go straight for it. So let's do the Pro 243 first, and then we'll go to the 925 Forged afterwards. So top line on the Pro 243 is medium to thin. We have a sole thickness which is, I think about, we'd say is about medium, but we do have some trail relief on the sole there for the turf interaction people. Blade lengths are medium to small, and of course down by the golf ball there is not much in the way of offset if you like it. This is the chromoly. Again, we've talked about transition of technology, etc. This is the chromoly Forged, but we do have copper underlay for making it sound quite nice. Let's go give it a hit. Let's hope we can try and stay away from the mess. Well, that's about as good as I can go. I mean, we are pushing it here. Oh, you'd take that all day long. 89.6 miles an hour club head speed, club path 2 degrees from the inside, face to path is 0.3 degrees close, strike's not too bad, 5mm heel, 3mm low for middle, so not bad at all. Carries 171 yards, going up 35 yards in the air and 48 degrees ascent angle. That will stop on nearly every single green. It feels really nice. And that's no surprise whatsoever. These are the Mizuno Pro range. They're supposed to feel really nice. We talk about copper underlays, etc., to try and dull the sound down. Obviously, this is chromoly, not the standard 1025E that you'll get in, say, the 9-iron, etc., but these do feel properly nice. Do these feel as nice as what the old Pro 241? No, because that was a full-on 1025E with copper underlay, and of course that will feel the nicest. But these do give you a little bit of help when you don't hit the middle. Again, going back to the heat maps, etc., you'll see how good this is when it comes to hitting certain parts of the face, which you shouldn't do, and it really does a very, very good job. We will be putting these up against 70, 80, 90 miles an hour to see if there's a difference when it comes to the golfers who don't swing at 90 miles an hour, if one will work better than the other. Let's go give it another go. Let's see if we can get close to doing the exact same thing again, because on one shot you'd take that one straight away. Well, that's another one you would definitely not have back. Go on, get up on the green. That's a win. Club head speed 89.6 miles an hour again. Club path 3.2 from the inside, 1.8 degrees close, little baby draw dynamics. 4mm heel, 6mm low, so slightly low on the face and slightly heely, but wasn't too bad at all. Carry 171, going 34.2 yards in the air and 48 degrees ascent angle. So even though the strike was not ideal, slightly low, slightly heely, it's still working extremely well. You can detect straight away when you're hitting it, not the middle, and exactly where it is. That's why I like these kind of golf clubs. You don't necessarily need a very expensive launch monitor to understand exactly where you're hitting it. And of course, if you're a game improving golfer, you're a golfer that really wants to get your strike much better, and you can't afford a really expensive launch monitor. Obviously there's other ways you can use talcum powder and all different like impact tape, etc. But that does then change how the golf ball flies when you introduce something on the face. But being able to tell exactly where you hit on the face is really quite good. Right, one last one. Flick over to the 925 Forge and see if I can do just as well. I tell you what, you would not have any of those three back. That is a win. Review over, get the 243. Club speed 90.2 miles an hour, club path 2 degrees on the inside, face is slightly closed 1.6 degrees closed, little baby draw dynamics, 4mm heel, 5mm low. I've got a little pattern of hitting it very fractionally low heely today. Carry 172 yards and we're going 34.6 yards in the air and 47.9 degrees descent angle, working really consistently, really well. Feels good also. Looks are subjective. Personally, I'm not a great fan of the kind of design of the back. I've never really been a great fan of how the 243 looks, but again, that's subjective. So ask 10 different people, get 10 completely different answers. Right, let's go flick over to the 925 Forge and see how well that does. 925 Forge in my hands, also changed the data set as well. And the 925 Forge had a massive update from the 923 to the 925. We have now Contour Ellipse. Contour Ellipse is a kind of an oval shape that they're kind of milling in the back of their face to try and get some really good variable face thickness, trying to get some very good ball speeds off of some weird and wonderful parts. They can't normally do it on the old forged way, but now they're making it in a two-piece construction. They can actually get to the back of the face and do the wondrous thing that we found how good it is on the JPX925 Hot Metal series. So looks on this one, we have a slightly thicker, maybe. And again, if I can go on to the Mizuno website and put these two and get them up on the screen so you can see if there's any actually difference or not, I will do. But it looks like the 925 Forge is fractionally thicker, but just fractionally. No different to the sole. The sole just does look a little bit bigger, but again, it's the small margins. This does also have trail and leading edge relief for the turf interaction people. And blade lengths, oh my word. Yeah, there's not much in it whatsoever. But down by the golf ball, it's got a nice small amount of offset there. I think the Pro 243 will just beat it in the offset front. If you're looking for smaller offset is best, or again, that's all subjective. Right, let's go give it a hit. See how well this does. Obviously, this is not 1025 or anything else. We are talking about chromoly in this as well. What is it exactly? 4130, whatever the construction is, but made of the same stuff, but without copper underlay. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Go on, hit the pin. Oh my word, dear me. Okay, club head speed 89.2 miles an hour, club path 1.2 from the inside, and face basically 0 to that. 1mm heel, 0mm low, very middle, I think people would agree. 177 yards of carry, 35 yards in the air, 47.8 degrees descent angle. Basically very similar, but I hit the pin. I'm not going to do that again. Feeling wise, the difference, I would say, okay, the Pro 243 feels nicer than the 925 Forged. It does. With the copper underlay of the Pro 243, it's a softer, duller impact sound than you've got on the 925 Forged. That's not saying the 925 Forged is loud, harsh, or crisp, or anything else like that. It's not. It's just that you can tell that there's a little bit more tech in this, and the fact that it hasn't got what this has got. So the copper of the Pro 243 wins, but it does feel good. And when you do that, who cares about how it sounds? No, it does feel quite nice though. Wow, let's try and do that again. Oh, I'm pushing that. Oh, I'm pushing that. That could be right on the edge. Go on, bounce left. Oh, look at that. Members bounce, even though I'm not a member. I'm so better right than left. Club head speed 89.6 miles an hour, club path 2.1 degrees from the inside. Face is open by 1 degree, that's why it didn't come back. But 2mm heel, 3mm low, that is basically middle. It does feel a very punchy golf club, this one. 174 yards of carry, 36.4 yards of peak height, and 48.8 degrees descent angle. So if we had have hit the green, other than the bit of the, yeah, it would have stopped. It is a very good golf club, this one. It feels very much so more punchy. This one over the 243, okay, 243 has got that copper underlay and it will feel softer. So if you're a golfer that wants to feel that softness of hit, Pro 243. If you want something to still feel forged but have a little bit of then 925 forged. One last one, because I'm pushing my luck. I can go right, I can get away with going right, I can go straight. Of course, I don't think I can go left. We'll go see if one wins over the other one. Last shot. That's the worst strike yet. Low on the face, but look at that. I think I would have the 925. I could feel that straight away. So club head speed 90.8 miles an hour, club path 1.8 degrees from the inside, and face was basically 0. That's why it went out to the right very, very slightly. But 0 mil hill, 6 mil low. I could feel that one straight away. Straight away. Even though this is more punchy, more explosive, you can still feel that it's a bit low on the face, only a quarter of an inch. But we go 175 yards of carry, which is fairly consistent, 36.5 yards in the air, and 48.8 degrees descent angle again. So it's working really very, very well. My feeling is that I would rather have, personally, I'd rather have the 925 forged. I like the feeling of the Pro 243. I really do love the feeling of the Pro 243. I actually prefer the looks of the 925 forged over the Pro 243. I've never really been a great fan of the Pro 243, but again, that's just subjective opinion. Ask 10 different people, get 10 completely different answers. So let's go hit these all over the face. Let's go and understand how well these do in the heat maps. Let's also get a 70, 80 and 90 miles an hour to see if either one of these two is better for different golfers at different golfers' swing speeds. All the shots now hit with the Mizuno JPX925 forged and also the Pro 243. I've hit them all over the face to get the heat map data, and I've also captured 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. We'll do the 70, 80, and 90 miles an hour in a sec. Let's go have a look at the heat maps, the fun heat maps, to see which one of these two is more forgiving than the other. On the screen, you can see the information straight away for the JPX925 forged. Now, if you haven't seen these before, this is heat map representation of looking at the faces of you looking at it face on. So you've got plus 22 on the left-hand side, that is the toe. Minus 22 on the right-hand side, that is the heel. You've got high and also low. That blue line is turf interaction line. Basically, that means if you interact with the ball 5 or 6 or so millimeters or higher on the face, you're going to be interacting with the ground first. No one likes hitting a chunk, a fat, or whatever you want to call it. And if you are going to be hitting high in the face and with the ball on the floor, you're going to be interacting with the ground first. That's going to be messy, shall we say, taking a cubic yard of wherever you are in the world out first. Ball is going to go nowhere. If you're on a tee or in the rough and you hit high in the face, please don't, because high in the face is horrid and you lose so much speed so very, very quickly hitting high on the face. So thin if you can, never high on the face. But you can see this one, the size of the green blob on the JPX925 forged. For a player's distance iron, remember this is in the player's distance category, 30 degrees of loft, and within reason it's going up against the Pro 245 and all of the, say, the P790s and stuff like that. It is going up against these, and so that category, generally speaking, yes, you can make the face really fast, but it's then very, very difficult to make the rest of the golf club quick, because you're constrained by the size of the golf club. The player's distance sector is supposed to be exactly that. Players that want players' irons, but more distance. So they can't be massive, fat and bulky items, because if not, that's going to put off the players that want to use them. So they have to be rather small. And so to see a player's distance iron have a green blob that big is very, very encouraging. You can go all the way to, say, let's go plus 20 off of the toe, and we are just into the 4% from a toe miss. No different if you go over to 20 millimeters off the heel, you're in 3% territory. That's really very, very good. I wouldn't go too much more than 20 millimeters, because 21 or 22 millimeters away, if you look at the overlay down the bottom left-hand side, that red strip basically means if you're going to move that far off of the heel, then you are going to be interacting with a hosel, and then no different to no one likes hitting a chunk. No one likes hitting a shank. So if you can, stay away from 21, 22 and more millimeters away from the heel. But from there, it's doing very, very well. If you go low on the face as well, you've got to go near on to topping it to lose more than 3%. It's doing really very, very well. The JPX925 forge with that contour ellipse, I cannot explain just how good that contour ellipse is. When they did it with the hot metals, and you see the hot metal pro heat map is really very, very good. As soon as I tested those irons, and they came out I think 6 months or so before the forged, I was thinking, please Mizuno, please stick that contour ellipse in the forge, because the 923 was decent, was good, but with the 925 forge now, with that contour ellipse, has transformed the forgiveness of this iron and the face speed, which we'll get into in a sec. But it's doing really very, very well. Let's go over to the Pro 243. Now the Pro 243 is a bit of a unicorn. It's a player's cavity, which generally speaking, the player's cavity sector does really well for consistency. Golfers don't think that, and that's because of the myth-based media and marketing. We're force-fed constantly to say, oh, they're players' irons, high handicap golfers who hit all over the face can't use them. Well, actually you can. However, there are some advantages and disadvantages about players' cavity, of which the Pro 243 sits into. Commonly, the cavity irons, the players' cavity irons, aren't very fast off the middle. And because they're not very fast from the middle, they don't really have to then do too much tech-wise to make the outsides of the golf club, the face, faster, and so then more consistent. So the JPX925 forge, which we'll go into a sec, has a faster face. But when you look at the Pro 243, look how good that is off of low strikes. That is ridiculous. It's pretty darn good off of toe strikes, only losing 3% from 20 millimeters, slightly better than that of the JPX925 forge. If you go heel, then I would argue the JPX925 forge is fractionally better, but look at low. Wowzers. If you hit this golf club to near on top territory, you're only going into 2% loss of your ball speed. And because we're dealing with a flat-faced iron, ball speed and distance are very, very, very close to being correlative. So you are basically losing hardly anything from this iron low on the face. And it is because of that micro slot. These golf clubs, the Pro 243 has got the micro slot. Doesn't have it in the, I think, the 8, 9 and pitching wedge, etc. But that's normal. As technology gravitates towards the higher lofted, it kind of then sort of bleeds out, because you don't need it because you've got loft as the biggest denominator of forgiveness. But when you start getting a little bit more of a bludgeon strike, the loft start coming off, it's that micro slot is an amazing tool, especially if you are a low striker. So to look at the best way to compare both of these irons is using the radar chart from a forgiveness and also flight point of view. All the information that you're seeing when it comes to heat maps, the radar chart we're going to have a look at now, and also the 3 different swing speeds when we look at the self-fit tool, is all available on my website www.askgolfnut.com, where we've got 90 or so irons currently to date on the database, where the website members can compare any of the 90 plus for heat maps, for radar charts, etc., and also the self-fit tool. And the self-fit tool we'll look at is an amazing tool for understanding gapping, potential gapping, distances that you're going to get, and the flight differences between the irons. But on the screen you can see we've got the Mizuno JPX925 forged in blue. We have the Pro 245 or 53 in red. So Pro 243 just wins on the toe. You can see there it's fractionally better than the JPX925 forge off of the toe. Would I make a buying decision based on that small little difference if you are a toe striker and you're torn between these two golf clubs? Absolutely not. They're basically within reason identical. Within such a small amount, very, very similar. Heel, you can see the JPX925 forge is fractionally better, but that is it. However, when you go to the low, you can see the Pro 243 just accelerates away. Now, the JPX925 forged is rather forgiving low on the face anyway. It's doing rather well. But the Pro 243 is ridiculous off of low strikes. Again, if you are a low striker, absolutely, it is one I would say Pro 243 is the choice you need to make. When it comes to the other two, toe, definitely not. I wouldn't make a choice between the two. Heel, very, very slightly JPX925 forge, but then again, it wouldn't just be that. It'd have to be others. However, you are a low striker, absolutely get the Pro 243. On average, if you look at the overall forgiveness, the Pro 243 has it, but that's because of that low strike performance. Again, we've just spoke about which one you'd rather have if you are a striker of where you are on the face. This is the big difference though. When we look at this side of the radar chart, the spider graph, this is the flight side of things. This is all loft for loft adjusted. There's 2 degrees of loft difference between these two, 30 degrees of loft for the JPX925 forged and 32 for the Pro 243. Remember, they are forged, you can bend the lofts around, and I think Mizuno set 3 degrees as the most. I think when it comes to say, let's say 2 degrees in loft and 1 degree in lie, or 2 degrees in lie and 1 degree in loft, that kind of idea. Again, that changes from time to time, but that's a general rule. So this is all loft for loft adjusted. This is where the JPX925 forge just accelerates in the flight dynamics point of view. The face on the JPX925 forge, because of that contour ellipse, is ridiculously quick compared to the Pro 243. If you look at the face spin rate, loft adjusted, again, you can see that the Pro 243 spins the golf ball slightly more than that of the JPX925 forged. Spin is there for you guys if you want to dial in your flights, etc. If you've got a spin window that you would like, if you want one that's got a high spin rate or a low spin rate, all golf clubs do slightly things differently, so you can see which one you want. And the launch factor, no different. It is very much so individual depending on what you need. A slow swing speed golfer will need as much launch factor as possible, as much face speed as possible to try and get that golf ball launching. When you're talking about a faster swing speed golfer, may not necessarily need the high launch factor. If anything, they might want a lower launch factor to stop the golf ball going to the moon. And of course, they may not need the face speed as well because they produce distance from pure swing speed. This is the time when we have a look at the 3 different swing speeds, 70, 80 and 90 miles an hour. So for that one, we'll have a look at the self-fit tool. This is the gold tier feature and is an amazing tool because it not only gives you the flights of the golf clubs when you compare, well, any two of the 90 plus we've got on there, but it also changes when it comes to the sliders at the top. Now we've got that set at 70 miles an hour already, angle attack at -2 and shaft lean at -2. Angle attack is how much you come down into the golf ball. Different golfers produce different angle attacks. Some actually hit up at the golf ball and some are more steep. And of course, the gold members can just adjust the sliders to suit their own dynamics, and that will then change the flights on the screen, which is really, really important. No different to shaft lean as well, or D-loft. How much do you take loft away in your delivery? Are you quite steep, or are you someone who has wrist angle issues and you basically sort of have a little bit of extension going through the golf ball and you add loft? Again, you can change the slider and that will change the flights. We have the JPX925 forged in blue and we've got the Pro 243. But what we've done at the moment, we've got this information set as the loft that they come with. And I'll just flick over in a sec. It's the great thing with the self-fit tools, you can actually change the loft on there. You can adjust them by plus or minus 1 or 2 degrees, which is quite good when you're trying to understand actually the differences in flight if you were to get your set bent 1 or 2 degrees weak or 1 or 2 degrees strong. So this, as they come out of the wrapper as such, you're looking at the max carry of the JPX925 forged for a 70 mile an hour swing is 130 yards and to 122. We're winning on the JPX925 forged by 8 yards. The same swing speed. That's quite good. Now, of course, we are talking about 2 degrees of loft difference, so you have to think that in your head. But we're looking at 126 yards of average carry against 118, 4 yards difference and 4 yards difference. Average carry is what happens when you take a nominal miss around the edge of the face, not the middle, around about sort of 12 mil, half inch or so off the middle. How much ball speed on average do you drop off? And within reason, as you saw, they are very, very close in their forgiveness. So within a rounded yard, they are both within reason. Very, very similar to 4 yards. We've got peak height of 22 yards with the forged against 23 yards with a slightly more lofted Pro 243 and 42.4 degrees descent angle and 44.7 on the Pro 243. So you'd see straight away the winner of distance goes to the JPX925 forged. However, the functional distance war as such goes absolutely to the Pro 243 because of that higher launch from that more loft. It going higher in the air and it's also stopping steeper. However, if you make the adjustments, as you can see there, by just adding 2 degrees of loft to that of the JPX925 forged, so we're now loft for loft, exactly the same, no difference. You can see max carry is now only 4 yards in it, 126 to 122, but we're still 4 yards longer. We've still got the 4 yard difference in average carry, so there's no difference in dispersion rings for forgiveness side of things. We are going exactly the same peak height and within 0.1 of a degree, exactly the same descent angle. So this is now like for like, but because we've got a slightly faster face, we've got a much faster face on the JPX925 forged, we're gaining those 4 yards for free, literally for free. Same descent angle, same peak height, 4 yards extra for free. Go over to 80 miles an hour, and this is the standard normal out of the wrapper lofts, and you've got the max carry going 152 for the forged, again 142 for the Pro 243. 10 yards, that's a long way. And then we've got 148 to 138, so we've got the 4 yards, no difference in average carry. They're both basically within reason, exactly the same in dispersion circles. Looking at peak height 30, 47.1, 48.4. You'd say the wind still goes to in the functionality of the Pro 243, but again, we're going 48 degrees and 47 degrees. We're not going to have to worry about the ball stopping. Yes, if you're going to go into the 5 irons, etc., and then possibly even the 4s, I wouldn't choose the 4 iron of the JPX925 Forge at 41.5 degrees because it is over 40 degrees. However, these are middle hits. And of course, if you don't hit the middle, you will lose a little bit of ball speed. You'll lose a little bit of launch. You'll lose a bit of peak height. You'll lose a little bit of descent angle. And anything under 40 degrees is in the lap of the gods if it's going to stop. So I would say absolutely, I would be going, if it's 4 irons and that's what you want, 4 irons, the Pro 243 at the moment is the only functional option. However, if you add 2 degrees of loft to the JPX925 Forged, you can see it changes slightly. You're looking at 146 to 142. There's your 4 yard gain in distance. We're going 1 yard higher up in the air and half a degree more descent angle. So not only are we going 4 yards longer for free, we're also going fractionally slightly steeper into the green as well. So we've got a fractionally better flight, higher peak height, a fractionally better descent angle at 4 yards for free gain. And it's because of that contour ellipse face, that JPX925 Forge, that face is really, really good. Mizuno, if you're listening, for the new Pro 243 replacement, which is coming in 6 months or so, please, for all that's holy, make sure you put contour ellipse in that thing because it just works so, so well. If you then go over to the full-on 90 miles an hour, you haven't got to worry about speed when you're doing 90 miles an hour, but everything's exactly the same, -2, -2. You look at the max carry for the Forge going 170 to 158, 12 yards difference from half a club difference. That it's a half a club longer because of face speed. No difference to the average carry, still exactly the 4 yards, no difference in that, but we're going 38 yards in the air, 38 yards in the air, no difference there. And because we've got a little bit more in the way of loft of the Pro 243, descent angle is better at 52 against 50, it's 1.3 degrees difference. However, at 90 miles an hour, you haven't got to worry about descent angles and stuff because you're swinging so fast. And okay, -2 is fairly shallow and you are going to produce and promote quite a bit of height. I am a little bit more downward on my attack and also a little bit more shaft lean, so I do not hit as the golf ball as high, but then I also hit it fractionally further than what you see on the screen. It's doing quite well. If you then move the +2 again on the Forged, you can see the average carry is no different, it's still 4 yards, but the max carry, we're gaining 5. We've got 39 yards in the air, 38 yards in the air. So again, the gain goes to the peak height on the JPX925 Forged, and the descent angles are basically exactly the same. It doesn't matter what you do. Every which way you look at it, the JPX925 Forged just wins. When it comes to like for like, it is more distance for free. And that's exactly what this contour ellipse face does. For the distance inspired people that want distance as the focal part of their buying choice, and want to choose between these two, they are both exactly the same, but the JPX925 with that contour ellipse face is just longer for free than the Pro 243. To conclude on the JPX925 Forge against the Pro 243, let's quickly do looks and feel, performance and forgiveness. Looks and feel, that's up to you guys. Looks for me, I actually quite like the look of the JPX925 Forge. I'm not a great fan of the Pro 243's looks, never have been, even since the Pro 223. I never really liked it. It looks fine, but it's not my thing. I'm a blade player. I like something which is fairly solid at the back. It's fine. Different people can like different things. I'm not saying it's bad looking at all, just not my cup of tea. Feel-wise, Pro 243, does feel better. Yes, it's chromoly, yes it is, but it has that copper underlay and it does feel slightly softer to that of the JPX925 Forge. Now again, that's all if you want softness. If you want a bit more of a confidence-inspiring pop, then the JPX925 Forge will give you that. It's not massive, it's not like some other golf clubs which sound like a gun going off, but it's just a slight difference in acoustic tone. When it comes to performance, JPX925 Forge just wins. It just wins. Everything like for like, everything, it just wins. It's distance for free. When it comes to forgiveness though, I would say depending on where you hit it on the face, if you are laterally across the face, toe and heel, choose which one you want. If you do hit it low on the face and you are a patterned misser, very low on the face, I would absolutely say the Pro 243 is the best bet. There's not big enough difference in the toe and heel to make a difference between them and to make a buying decision between the two. However, when we're looking at low on the face, you are going to struggle to beat the Pro 243 from low because it just does such an amazing job. Hope you liked the video. If you did, go and give it a big old thumbs up. Hit that like button. YouTube like it, so do I. Down there is a subscribe button. It's free. It is brilliant for the channel if you could subscribe, so thank you. Next to that one is a bell icon. There's a notification bell. If you click that one, that'll let you know next time I upload another video. Hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.